Here, two opposite sides of the spectrum, obviously. Alice, what do you make of that tie? Not to say that both of them shouldn't have been in there. Certainly you can imagine that they would be, but the fact that they garnered the same amount of votes.
Well, I think it goes to show that certainly Hillary Clinton still is someone that people look up to and as this poll indicates, admires. But Melania Trump herself is someone who is really making her way on her own timeline, in her own, with her own voice, and becoming more welcome on the world stage. And what she's doing as First Lady, I think, certainly deserves to be admired, and it will certainly grow as she grows into this role. What she has done with the Be Best campaign and her work as First Lady on many fronts. She has visited victims of shootings and certainly working with the opioid crisis. She is growing into this role, and I expect her voice and her name and her recognition in this poll and others to grow as her time in the White House grows.
A lot of people say, oh, a woman of grace, no doubt about it. Both Obamas topped the lists here, we need to point out, because there's a male version of this, of course, the most admired man of 2018. So we've got Michelle Obama on the women's side in the #1 place, Barack Obama #1, and then look at that, right behind him, Donald Trump, with 13%, not a big span there. What do you make of that, Kate?
Again, I mean, it speaks to how polarized this country is. It's kind of amazing to see the two of them in the top two places. And you have people who are huge supporters, Democrats obviously for Obama, Republicans for Trump. It's a very divided moment in our history. I was really intrigued to not see either Laura Bush or Barbara Bush on those polls, because the Bush women are often the most, well-liked First Ladies. And so that was surprising to me, because you see George W. Bush there on that list. I would say those are two names that kind of, especially Barbara Bush, sort of popped out at me. And Laura Bush, too. I mean, these are two women who are really, I think because they were very traditional First Ladies, and so they were really beloved when they were holding the office.
And Christi, I think on the men's side, it's important to note, it's great to see a split ticket virtually at the top with President Obama at the top. My understanding, this being a popular vote, that's why led to Obama's victory. I understand Donald Trump won the Electoral College vote on this poll. Just kidding. But the key is that this just goes to show that people look up to political figures, their elected officials, and I think admiration is something that crosses partisan bounds, and people look up to leaders who stand up for what they believe in, and this poll clearly demonstrates that.
Kate, is there any indication, the meaning of this poll? I mean, how much at the end of the day does it tell us?
I don't know. I mean, the fact that Hillary Clinton was at the top of the list for so long and yet lost the election. And I'm not sure that that admiration coincides with popularity, because obviously there are a lot of people who really viscerally do not like Hillary Clinton for whatever reasons. So I don't know. I think admiration is something really interesting, and it has to do with what Alice was saying. I think that you admire people who take risks, and both Donald Trump and Barack Obama are two people who firmly believe in their beliefs. So I think it's really interesting to see these two very different men at the top of that list.
It must be nice to Alice for our current First Lady. I mean, she is criticized for everything from Christmas trees to the clothes she wears. How do you think she's receiving this?
She doesn't let that get her down. She is focused on what is important to her. Certainly being a mother to her son is her top priority, and being a wife to her husband is key, but she doesn't get distracted by this, and certainly she's not sitting around staring at the polls and seeing how she fares in the latest polls, and she does things in her own way, in her own timeline. And I think it's important to also note the Be Best initiative is great with regard to encouraging kids live healthy lives and constructive social media behavior, and this is something, the beginning of what I see as a long list of initiatives that she'll focus on.
All righty. Alice, Stewart, Kate.